I'm Faedra, and I'm a grateful recovering addict.
Faedra.
My clean date is May 9th, 2023. So I'm coming up on 2 years. And I'm extremely nervous. God, I'm so nervous. Thankfully, I can't see everybody. I was born into a family of alcoholics and addicts, so it was nothing unusual to see drinking every day, all day, and very easily paved the way for how my addiction started. And it was acceptable. Drinking was socially acceptable, so and it made me happy. It made me a better person. It made me easy to get along with. We lived. My dad was in the military, so he wasn't home very much. And when he was home, he was drunk and he was mean. So I found a way to hide under the radar, and but there was a lot of abuse there. So walking on eggshells, becoming other people, wearing different masks to see, to be whoever you needed to be to get through the day. And that carried on into my adult life of just morphing myself into whoever somebody wanted me to be. And never really found out who Faedra was. I was just accumulation of everybody that I needed to be for the moment, for the relationship, the situationship, whatever the case may be, and had my fair share of a lot of abusive relationships growing up, and my addiction has lasted a really long time. I don't have to get into it. Everybody's been there, not creative ways of finding ways and means to get more. We've all done the things, and I'm not an exception of that. I was a garbage gut. I liked anything and everything. My addiction was more. I needed more of everything. And I didn't realize I was an addict for a long time because I never went through withdrawals of anything. I drank religiously, but I never had the shakes. I never got sick. I got hungover, but I never needed to have that next drink to calm myself and get myself together. I never needed to get high to get myself well. I never experienced that, so I didn't really think I was an addict until I realized my life became so unmanageable. And I did a lot of rehabs. I moved a lot, and I took myself with me wherever I went. And I was at my lowest point, I think, in 2018. And I was using every single day, all day long. Psychosis was running rampant. And I knew I couldn't go on. And I was with a person that we were using, neck and neck. It was like we were in a competition and who could use more. And I just felt soulless. I remember texting that to my daughter. Like, I don't know how to stop. I can't stop. Every day, all day, I just can't stop. And I feel like I'm gone. I'm just a shell of a person. So I made a decision, and I just attempted to take my life. I walked 2 miles to the grocery store and stole 2 bottles of Tylenol PM and went back to my house and sat on the floor and proceeded to swallow them by the fistful. And I got 150 down, approximately, a bottle and a half down when I was found. And I was unconscious. I was dumped off, literally dumped off in the little driveway of the emergency room. And I woke up, I don't know how many days later, I never asked, I don't want to know. And I was mad. I was so mad, because this was my 4th attempt. And the amount of Tylenol I put in my system should have done the job, because I've heard of other people taking less and it took care of their problem. But I woke up and my daughter was sitting next to me. I had 3 IVs in this arm, 3 IVs in that arm, 2 in my neck, tube down my throat to breathe, feeding tube, the whole 9. And I was mad. I was very angry because I prayed every single night for God to take me. And And he didn't. And the doctor came in and they removed everything. And he told me that it was a miracle that I was there. It was a miracle that my liver was still okay. It was a miracle that every organ in my body was fine. And what am I going to do about it? So I sat on it for another week while I was there, and I said, okay, well, maybe God has something planned for me. Maybe there's a reason that I'm here. So why don't I try to figure out what that is? So I stayed in the mental floor for a little while, and then I come from Wilmington, and I've done dirt all over Wilmington. I did not want to go back to Wilmington, which is why I was in the Poconos when this happened. Because again, I thought if I changed my places and my playgrounds, that, it would be okay. But you're an addict, you're going to find it wherever you want it. So I was like, where can I go? I need to go. I want to get my life started. I need to get to a rehab. They sent me to Wilmington, to the Salvation Army program. I was like, okay, God has a sense of humor. So I went to the Salvation Army program. It was a Christian-based program, and I was not in touch with God at all, other than my foxhole prayers. Please take me. Please get me out of this. We all know that. So I complete this program. I start, a relationship with God. I was scared to death to walk into any church up until this point. Every time I walked into church, I burst into tears. So it scared me, so I never went to church. And somebody was like, somebody's trying to tell you something. That's why you burst into tears every time you walk into a church. So the first time I walked into that church at that rehab, I fell to my knees at the altar. And, I just cried and cried and cried and cried. And, it took me 9 months to complete that program because I refused to turn my will over. I kept hearing the words like obedience and humility. And I had been abused and mentally abused, physically abused, and that to me was a trigger that I had to bow down to somebody else, and I wasn't going to do it. I had my relationship with my God, so I thought, and it was solid, so I thought. And I left there, and I got into a recovery house in Wilmington, Friendship House. And I started working, and I thought if I get all my things back, if I just get my life back, I get all the things, everything's going to be good. I was making meetings because I had to. Didn't have a sponsor, didn't do any step work. I started working really hard, and I'm a restaurant manager by trade. That's what I have my degree in. And I went back to the same restaurant that I used to work at, and couldn't do the job. I struggled and struggled and struggled, and I was working myself to death, and I couldn't understand why. And I'm like, I've never done this job sober. That's why it's so hard. And so I'm in this little apartment that Friendship House gave me because I earned it, because I was doing so well. So I was there by myself, and I'm an isolator. I have no problems isolating. I can be by myself forever and a day, and it's okay. And that's what gets me. Isolation, and I don't reach out when that phone weighs 300 pounds. And so I thought, I'm bored one night, I don't have to work, and the mind is a wonderful playground for an addict, isn't it? And I was like, I can use, nobody will even know. They don't even know I'm here. And $3,000 later, I didn't have money to pay rent. So I thought, I have savings. I'm going to go and tell them myself they're going to kick me out. They're going to give me $4,000, and I'm just going to keep on going. And I did that, and I went and I told them, they're like, you think we're giving you money and kicking you out? You've lost your mind. You are high. You're going back to rehab. So I went back. I didn't stay. I was already in the grips of it, and I stayed running for 6 years. And finally, I was in this little piece of crap room for rent on the east side of Wilmington, and I'm, again, going down that hole fast, like I was up in the Poconos, and I was just ready to die. I wanted to die. And I remember it was a hot summer day, And all of a sudden I heard this boom of a voice, and I was like in a big psychosis, and nobody can tell me anything different. God spoke to me, he said, "You're done. It's time, you're done." And I was just like shaken. So I picked up the phone and I started calling Bowling Green, because I'd been there a few times and I knew that they sent people other places, and that's what I needed. I needed to get out of Wilmington for good. And so I called and called, nobody answered, and I kept calling and I'm still using and I'm calling. And finally at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, they answer. And I'm like, please, I need help. I need help and I need to be done. God told me I needed to be done. And she's like, we'll come and get you tomorrow. So I went back to Bowling Green. I was the happiest person in rehab. It was like a weight had been lifted off me. And I met Zach there. He brought in groups, and he started speaking about the Dexter house. And I just honed in right on him. I said, this is where I need to go. This is where I need to be. And I advocated for myself. I stuck notes under all the counselors' doors and everything, and I'm like, I need to go to this house. I need to go to this house. And I went to the house. I got my first month's rent paid from a scholarship from this wonderful lady that had never met me. She paid my first month, and it's going on 2 years that I've been there. And it's been the greatest decision I've ever made. I've had the same job for the whole time that I've been there. I'm a manager now. That was my employee. And I have such support. I have a home group. I have a sponsor. I do step work. I have a commitment at my home group. And I've watched people come and go out of Dexter. I've seen people succeed. I've seen people fail. And my faith has grown exponentially, and the peace I've found of just, I'm able to turn my will over and let it go. He takes the wheel every single day. I'm not perfect, I take it back. And he shows me, because this is what happens when you take it back. And I'm just forever grateful for going to Bowling Green and meeting Zach. Forever grateful. And I'm learning about who Faedra is now. And Faedra likes to skydive. And I did that after my first year, my anniversary, actually right before. And I vowed to do it every single year until they tell me I can't do it anymore. So I'm too old or too fat, one of the two. So if anybody wants to go skydiving, we're going soon. But, you know, I'm a grandma. I'm a nana, and I get to see my granddaughter. I get to be in my granddaughter's life. She just turned 2. It is a life beyond my wildest dreams. Every day is. Every single day. And I owe it everything to this program and God. And I timed that perfectly. My time is up. Thank you so much.